Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty big, actually. The UK and its goal to become, well, a world leader in artificial intelligence. And thankfully, you, our listener, you sent us a ton of material on this, reports, surveys, the latest developments, all that. So we spent some time with all of it.
Yeah, and basically our mission today is to really try to understand, where's the UK at right now in the global AI landscape? What exactly are they aiming for? What are their strengths? But also, crucially, what are the obstacles they might run into if they really want to achieve these aspirations? We're taking everything you've shared and trying to give you, the listener, the most focused perspective on this whole AI journey that the UK is on, and of course, what it all means, their potential, all that.
Exactly. No huge data dumps or anything super technical here. We're cutting through it all to bring you the key insights that really explain these big AI ambitions. So the headline is, the UK is serious about this, right? Getting to the top in AI.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the documents you send, it's clear. The UK wants to be an AI superpower. And it's official. It's in their national AI strategy from back in 2021, and then laid out even more in the AI Opportunities Action Plan that came out at the start of this year, 2025. It's not just talk, it's an actual strategic objective for them.
Okay, but where do they even start in this race?
Yeah.
Because saying you want to be a superpower in AI, that's a huge undertaking.
Well, you've got to look at the 2023 Global AI Vibrancy Ranking. It's from Stanford, their human-centered AI initiative, the HAI. They look at tons of factors, research, development, investment, the whole picture. And right now, the UK is sitting in third place globally.
Third place. Not bad at all. But the US is first and China is second, if I'm remembering right. That seems like a huge gap to overcome in terms of resources, sheer scale, all that.
Yeah, no, it's a big difference for sure. I mean, the amount of money being poured into this and the amount of research and development, it's massive in both the US and China. So that's a very real obstacle for the UK if they want that top spot. You're talking different levels entirely when you're competing with the economies that size. So they have to be smart, very strategic with where they focus their energy.
Okay, so big ambition, we get that. But what's the actual plan? How do they get there? What's the roadmap look like?
So their national AI strategy, it lays out three main things. First, invest heavily in the UK's AI ecosystem. That means supporting innovation, growth, all that. Second, make sure the benefits of AI are felt everywhere in every sector of the economy, even in society. And third, govern AI effectively, build trust, manage risks, the whole package.
Invest, integrate, regulate. Makes sense. But that AI Opportunities Action Plan, that's the newer document, right? That's where the details are.
You got it. It builds on that big strategy, but it gets into the specifics. Matt Clifford had some recommendations, so they took those, and the plan focuses on some concrete action. A big one is data. Improving the UK's data capabilities, because data, that's the fuel for AI, right? So there's this national data library thing. The goal is to make it easier to get high-quality data sets for research and all that. And they're looking into using copyright-cleared media for training AI, which is actually really interesting and pretty complicated, too.
Right. Data access is key. But what else is in this action plan? What are they prioritizing?
Skills. They know they need a skilled workforce if they're serious about AI, so addressing that skills gap is huge. And then, get this, they want to expand their compute infrastructure, by 20 times, by 2030. We're talking building serious data centers, getting access to specialized hardware like GPUs, all that, so they have the raw processing power for all this cutting-edge AI stuff.
20 times. Wow, that's really ambitious. I mean, how realistic is that even by 2030?
Yeah.
And also, I saw something about AI growth zones. What are those all about?
Yeah, you're right to question that. 20 times is a huge jump. It needs serious money and really careful planning. As for those AI growth zones, those are like regional hubs. The idea is to have specific places where AI companies and researchers can get everything they need, all the resources, infrastructure, to thrive. They're doing a pilot program at Cullum starting next spring, 2025. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see what they learn.
So it seems like they are putting the resources where they need to be. And they're putting some money behind it too, right? I saw some specific funding number.
Oh, yeah. They have targeted funding for specific areas, like £82.6 million went to healthcare AI research to improve diagnosis and treatment. And another $32 million was invested in 98 different AI projects that are all about boosting productivity across different industries. It's about showing people the real benefits of AI so they'll actually use it more widely.
But hold on, didn't a big chunk of funding get canceled recently? That seems like a step backwards.
Yeah, that's something to think about. The new government canceled a proposed £1.3 billion AI investment, and that raises questions about, how consistent the funding will be long term, especially when you look at the US and China. They're investing huge amounts consistently, and that kind of money, it can really make a difference, for breakthroughs in research and building infrastructure. So the UK not having that could be a problem.
That's a lot of money, for sure. But I thought they were still planning that new supercomputing facility to help with research.
That's still on the table, yeah. They're committed to basically doubling the capacity of their national AI research resource. It's a new supercomputing facility, so researchers and developers can have access to that serious computational power. It's essential for doing that really advanced AI work.
It's not all in the government, though, is it? What about private money? There were some numbers about private investment in this, too, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, the private sector has put a lot of money into data centers in the UK. We're talking over £25 billion since July of last year, 2024. So the industry believes in the UK, even with some changes in public funding. It shows they think the UK could really be a major AI hub, even long term.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. How does the UK actually stack up against these other big players in AI, looking at the key indicators? Your notes mentioned a table that compared the UK, the US, and China. What stood out to you there?
Well, it's a mixed bag, really. The UK is third in that global AI vibrancy ranking, like we said, and they have over 3,100 AI companies contributing £3.7 billion to the economy. That's not small potatoes. And they do well in the AI readiness index, which means they're in a good spot in Western Europe for adopting AI.
Right, but the US and China have their own advantages, I'm guessing.
Exactly. The US, they're way ahead in research and development and just overall investment. That really fuels innovation. China, they're strong when it comes to patents, lots of AI patents being filed there, so they're good at turning research into actual tech that could be worth something. And when it comes to generative AI, they're using it a lot, like 83% adoption in China compared to 70% in the UK. It shows they're integrating these new tools really fast across all kinds of sectors.
Now, the UK has been talking about being a leader in AI safety. Where does that fit into the picture, globally speaking?
That's definitely a big focus for them. They hosted that AI Safety Summit back in 2023, and they started the AI Safety Institute. But the data shows that when it comes to the fundamentals like infrastructure and how much businesses are actually using AI, the UK is behind. Only 37% adoption in businesses compared to China's 50%. So it's like they're worried about the future risks, but they still need to catch up on integrating AI into their economy right now.
I'm guessing those patent numbers are important, too, to show how much innovation is happening. How's the UK doing there?
Yeah. Patents are key. The UK is 8th in the world for AI patents, and China's number 1. So the research is happening in the UK, but maybe they're not as good at turning that research into intellectual property, at the same scale as China. And then overall, they're 4th in the global AI index ranking and 3rd in AI research ranking. The US and China are ahead of them there, too.
Sounds like a bit of a mixed bag, then. Strong in some areas, but some catching up to do.
Yeah.
Let's break it down a bit. What would you say are the UK's biggest advantages in this whole AI thing?
Their research is really strong, that's clear. They have these amazing universities and institutions like the Alan Turing Institute. They're doing cutting-edge work, and their startup scene is really exciting. Companies like DeepMind and Wave, those are global names. Plus, the UK is great for AI education. Their study programs are top-notch, so they're attracting and training talent. And the government seems to be pretty supportive of innovation when it comes to regulations. That helps a lot.
So good foundations, for sure. But what are their weaknesses? What could hold them back from becoming this AI superpower?
Well, businesses in the UK aren't adopting AI as quickly as in some other countries. So getting those technologies out of the lab and into the real world, that seems to be a struggle. And like we said, the patent numbers are lower compared to China. So translating research into stuff that can be sold, that might need some work. And they just don't have as much access to the huge computing power and data that's needed to train those really advanced AI models. Plus, there's some public concern about AI. People are a bit skeptical. And the regulations, while they're pro-innovation, they're kind of all over the place. So there's a lot of debate about whether they need more specific laws for AI.
Yeah, regulations are tricky. It's a balancing act, supporting innovation, but also making sure everything's ethical and safe.
Yeah.
Now, I know the UK graduates a ton of AI students. That's got to be a plus, right?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a big strength. They have the most AI graduates in Europe, so they have a good pipeline of talent coming through. And they're trying to make it even better with apprenticeships and these big scholarship programs to get the best people into AI. The Alan Turing Institute even has this framework to make sure what students are learning actually matches what businesses need.
I think I saw something about per capita numbers with graduates. What was that about?
Right, so they do have the most graduates total, but when you look at it per person, relative to the size of the population, the UK falls behind some other smaller countries in Europe, so they could still do better getting more of the population skilled up in AI.
Okay, let's talk rules. What about the whole ethical and regulatory landscape for AI in the UK? You said they were pretty pro-innovation. How does that actually work?
So they don't want to stifle innovation with too many rules. Their approach is guided by 5 principles: safety, transparency, fairness, accountability, and contestability. And these apply to all sectors dealing with AI. They also have this AI playbook to help the public sector use AI responsibly and ethically. The main idea is to be flexible and adaptable rather than having really strict laws.
Which is pretty different from what the EU is doing with their AI Act, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. The EU is much stricter. They have specific rules for different types of AI systems. The UK wants to be more agile to encourage development. But some people are saying it's not clear enough, that maybe they do need more specific laws for those high-risk AI applications. And actually, that artificial intelligence regulation bill, the one that was reintroduced as a private member's bill, that kind of shows that some people want more defined rules.
And what are the big ethical questions that people are talking about with AI in the UK?
Well, a big one is bias. Like, how do you make sure that the algorithms aren't biased, that they're not going to discriminate against certain groups? And then privacy, that's huge with all the data collection that comes with AI. And then, AI-generated content, that's a whole can of worms. Misinformation, intellectual property, how do you control all that?
It feels like this is too big for any one country to handle alone. What's the UK doing internationally to work with others on AI?
Collaboration is a big part of their strategy. They co-hosted that AI Safety Summit back in 2023 to get everyone talking about the big issues and to start figuring out global standards for AI safety and ethics. And they're also working directly with countries like France, Germany, South Korea, Qatar, doing research together and sharing best practices. Plus, they're involved in these big international groups like the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, GPAI. It brings together all the experts and policymakers. And they presented that International AI Safety Report 2025 in Paris earlier this year, so they're definitely engaged internationally.
So they want to be more than just a developer of AI. They want to be a leader in shaping it globally.
Yeah.
What do the experts think? Do they think the UK can actually pull this off, becoming a superpower in AI?
There's definitely some optimism. People are impressed with the UK's research and the startup scene there. But they also say that to become a superpower, the UK needs to keep investing consistently for the long haul. And they need good regulations, ones that are clear and can keep up with how fast AI is changing. And we can't forget about energy. AI uses a ton of it, so they have to figure that out too. So even though their regulations are good for innovation to be a superpower, they need to take some bold steps. Attract the best talent from all over the world, close the gaps they have in infrastructure, and get more businesses to adopt AI. Some experts say there's a window of opportunity right now, especially for those really advanced AI technologies. But the UK has to be focused. They have to work together to make it happen.
All right, so let's finish up with what's been happening lately. Anything new going on with AI in the UK as of, let's say, late March 2025?
Well, they had that big AI UK 2025 event a couple weeks ago. It was a great chance to see all the new stuff and hear what everyone's thinking. But there weren't any big policy announcements, no changes to the action plan they released earlier. And if you look at the global rankings from 2024, the US and China are still in the lead. The UK is holding steady at 3rd or 4th. No big shakeups there. But that canceled investment, that £1.3 billion, that's still a problem. And they're still figuring out the whole copyright thing about using data to train AI. That could be a big deal for developers in the UK. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Okay, so to sum it all up for you, dear listener, the UK has a lot going for it. They're strong on research, they have an exciting startup environment, and they care about AI safety and ethics. But the US and China are investing a lot, and they have a ton of infrastructure. So it's probably not realistic to think the UK will be #1 in AI anytime soon.
But they could still be a major player, especially when it comes to AI safety and ethics. They're doing really important research, and they're working with other countries to figure out global standards. They could have a big impact on how AI is developed and used all over the world.
That's a really good point. And if they want to keep growing their influence, they need to keep investing strategically, make sure their policies are actually working, and close those gaps they have, especially with infrastructure.
It makes you wonder, the UK has a history of shaping global standards. So maybe, even if they're not number one in AI overall, maybe their focus on safety and ethics will put them in a unique position to guide how AI is developed responsibly. It's definitely something to think about.